Welcome to our coverage of quarterfinal action between the Toronto Rush and DC Breeze. The winner of this game goes to championship weekend in Toronto, July 26th and 27th, with Robin Costner and Russell Kassoon getting ready for the opening pull. The Rush pulling to the Breeze.
Well, I see the Rush has started a strong defensive lineup here. We've got Jonathan Martin with the disc, a strong defender for the Rush. Anatoly Vasilyev beside him, and there's the first throw.
Not a good start.
Maybe seeing a bit of the wet conditions on that original pull disc as well, but let's now see how the conditions affect the players.
Turnover right away, and Toronto's going with a short field.
Good strong D by Jarrett Marin there.
Oh, and a drop there by Isaiah Mazzucchelli. This is going to be tough. These guys are having a hard time holding on to the disc.
Maybe some early nerves, guys.
Well, we'll see a few players. Another great defensive play there, that time with Anatoly Vasilyev. We'll see some players with gloves on, and that is one of the things that can sometimes help and give you a bit more grip.
I think you may see a few players who don't usually wear gloves reconsidering that decision. Another unforced error there from the Toronto Rush. And that's Tyler DiGirolamo in the corner scoring for the DC Breeze, taking the score 1-0. That's the first point in this playoff game.
Yeah, fed by Alex Thorne. I guess we're going to see a lot of this combination today. Here we see again, straightforward throw to space into the end zone.
81.
Everyone just being extra careful here with the throws and the catches. To see a safe pancake catch there by DiGirolamo.
And we were speaking to the managing partner of the DC Breeze before the game, Don Grage, and those two players, Thorne and DiGirolamo, they make a 5-hour trip, guys, from their home in Pittsburgh to play with this team. So a big commitment from them and a lot to see from them this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's so fun as a Frisbee fan of Ultimate Frisbee for so many years to see that the commitment to players now to this professional game. That they will make that trip on a regular basis with their team.
DiGirolamo is going to be a factor throughout this game. You saw in that first point, but also throughout this game, he is going to be their go-to guy on offense. And you can see he's a big guy, and that first step is quick. So at those give and goes near the end zone, look for DiGirolamo.
Let's go, AJ! Not coming, Neely, under Neely.
DC Breeze goal, number 81, assisted by
Wait, is there only goal on the same end? So red's going this way. That's what it looks like.
So back and forth between Yearwood and McKnight here. Just trying to open up an opportunity downfield. Very chilly offense.
This does feel like a really conservative offense from Toronto.
High in the stall count on that throw, and a good save by Andrew Yearwood.
A reminder to our viewers that in AUDL, stall count is 7 and not 10, as you may have seen in league play.
The point by Toronto. Mark Lloyd to Cam Harris. That's a combination we're going to see a lot today.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of of us watching Alex Thorn and Tyler DiGirolamo in the last point. I'm going to stumble over that name for a while. But we saw a very chilly movement of the disc by the rush on that play, resets on a regular basis, and then we saw a good play at the end by Mark Lloyd to find wide open Cam Harris.
Like football.
It's all tied up at 1 here, and we see Toronto pulling to the DC Breeze.
Wet disc again, playing a role here to affect that fairly straightforward backhand.
Inside, 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 around. Yes, that's fine. Tyler, around. Inside, inside, Alex, inside, 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 inside.
You can hear the Breeze coach calling to their defensive marker, telling them where to place the mark.
Back 10 yards. Tyler on the mark. Tyler on the mark.
There's a call on the field, and the Toronto Rush is having to move the disc back 10 yards, and they'll restart and maintain possession on offense.
Alex, fall. Lock the under, White.
Point for Toronto. Jonathan Martin from Phil Watanabe.
The Rush were a little fortunate there earlier. There was a release to, there we show the catch in the end zone. Good care by Jonathan Martin to jump over the line and land in the end zone there. But we did see some fortune with Toli Vasilia bringing down an overthrow, and it was fortunate for the Rush that there was no one in that zone area where the disc flew to. Toli was able to chase that down.
See if the DC Breeze can keep possession this time around and even up this game.
See the first long huck. Look at that. DiGirolamo deep, and he pulls it down right in front of the end zone line.
He had the height advantage on that huck, but still had to show great concentration to come out down with that disc.
In the space with 2 defenders right around in there. So, despite the fact that before we saw them being a little conservative with respect to the rain, the wet disc, starting to gain a little confidence here, and you're starting to see the long game come out. So that's the critical play on that, is that long huck that they set up going into that offensive point. They knew they were going to DiGirolamo right from the beginning, and they did it and they executed. So we're going to see both teams probably start to gain a little bit more confidence and a little bit more long hucks perhaps from both sides.
Absolutely, it certainly hasn't impacted their ability to throw the disc deep here. On that play we can see. And a good solid grip and catch from DiGirolamo there. We had a Rush player there that was able to do the height matchup, and we'll be watching the Rush and how they mark up in particular against that deep threat.
We mentioned that these two teams played each other twice this season, won a very tight 1-point game, the first game of the year in April. The second game, a 10-point win by the Rush in Toronto when DC didn't maybe have their best lineup. They spoke to that a little bit today. They feel that they've got the top 20 players here to compete against the Rush today.
See a long strike here from Toronto. Caught for a point, that's Jeff Lindquist who came down with the catch.
Well, both teams stretching the field. That does not seem to be phasing them at all. I'm not seeing any issues with wind at the moment either downfield.
And it looks like the rain is easing a bit.
And of course, just when I say that the DC Breeze can compete with the Rush, there you go, the Rush come downfield. And we'll see if that end zone, 2 deep strikes in that end zone, if that is a factor, guys.
It could be the hot end zone. We'll see. You know, often when a team is trading points, you'll always see them scored in one zone. It all depends on the strength of the D line that's put out, which right now Rush has put onto the field, and see whether they can get a turnover.
Toronto Rush goal, scored by number 20, Rick Perez. Assisted by number 19, Rob White.
Travel called on the DC Breeze, and that's a turnover. It will be Toronto Rush's disc with a short field to work with.
And for our viewers, travel call, much like basketball, you got to have that pivot foot established. And obviously there, Rush had the pressure on, forcing DC. Costly one at that, guys.
Yeah, it's a travel call is a harsh call in under AUDL rules, where it's a call made by the referee and an instant turnover. And we see Rush taking advantage there with another gargantuan leap from Jonathan Martin.
One pass and into the end zone. And they're up 4-2 now with 7:05 to go in this first quarter.
And the giant leap by Jonathan Martin. I know he's a track star, guys. Not sure it was long jump, but he's making it easy jumps into the end zone today.
He's making sure of it. Alex Thorne slips out of his fingers.
That's a wet disc. Isaiah Mazzucchelli in on that play for Toronto, and he's got one glove on now where he suffered from a drop earlier. Maybe that's making a difference because he throws for that point.
The great awareness up in the air by Liam Bradford to come down with that disc into the end zone.
A pretty commanding lead right now for the Toronto Rush, 5-2, and that will, well, timeout called. You know, it was one of those moments where you knew that was going to happen just for DC to settle their team down. What do you expect Coach Malloy saying to his team right now in that huddle?
I think that they are talking about the skills that they have and need to just calm down and play their game. I mean, that was in that last point, that was an uncharacteristic turnover by Alex Thorne, a guy who is going to quarterback this offense for DC. He needs to just take a moment to get a breather, but they've got all the skills. That, I mean, the wet disc may be an issue here, but both teams are dealing with it. They just need to regroup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was also it's a good time to make this timeout call because it's actually a very critical part at the start of this game. The Rush very happy, I'm sure, to get that score and come up by get a lead of 3 points. If that does not get received and DC Breeze go down the field to score, we got a 4-3 game. It's all of a sudden tighter for everybody involved. So DC is telling them, I'm sure their coach is telling them to just relax and focus on every point, and they'll bring this game back potentially.
And there's still plenty of time left in the game, 4 quarters to play in AUDL action, and we're just about halfway through the first quarter.
seems like the breeze has picked up a little bit as well. Downwind towards the Rush end zone.
Not the DC breeze. I know, I know. I left it wide open.
Good one.
They see a set play coming out of the DC breeze, coming out of that timeout. Let's see what happens.
Rush are playing a bit of a zone D here. A little bit of junk to poach and catch any of the in-cutters. Now everyone's gone to a man on.
Throw went up to DiGirolamo, but Jonathan Martin was there, and they both went up a little early. It looks like it was overthrown. When they get in trouble, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah, that's their safety outlet.
Toronto has another big break opportunity here on offense now, following that turnover. Turnover in the end zone, and DC is going to start from their end zone line.
That hammer was just underthrown, making it quite a straightforward D for Tyler Kunsa of the Breeze.
And Robin, you did mention that the wind had started to pick up and coming toward the Rush as they were attacking in the end zone, so maybe that hammer, maybe not the right throw at that time.
That's right, it was an upwind hammer, and he just didn't get enough spin on it.
Incredible D by Remy in the end zone to save a point there for the Toronto Rush.
Yes, Remy Ojo, and the DC Breeze may not know much about Remy, but Remy, they know now, I think. Remy has excellent reach and speed. They had a good put down to DiGirolamo, but look at Remy stretch this out.
Not afraid to lay it out on the turf is Ojo there. And he's always known for getting those 1 or 2 Ds, isn't he?
He closes that space so quickly and not afraid to put his body on the line to get the D. He'll be in there.
That's right, and correction, it was that throw was actually to Justin Solis, who may have adjusted and come in for that a bit more aggressively if he knew what Remy was capable of doing in those circumstances.
But a huge swat like that is often a point to pick up your team. Not that the Rush need much picking up right now with the lead in the game, 5-2. 4 minutes to play in the first quarter.
And another timeout call.
I think the Rush will take anything that they can get in order to maintain the momentum that they've built over the last couple of points here, because all of these points are going to be hard fought. We're starting to see also the rain pick up again, so it's going to be a factor still this evening in this game. I saw a few umbrellas come out in the crowd, so feels like the rain's coming down a little bit harder now.
That's right, and also, first of all, we haven't had the lights come on, and it's a cloudy day, obviously, it's raining. But, you know, the conditions may be a little duller out there, too, a little gray. So I think both teams are going to want to, Rush in particular, play as strong as they can in this first half, build their lead, because who knows what the conditions are going to be like as the game gets longer.
Unforced error, that's a turnover in their own end zone for the Rush.
Adrian Yearwood that threw that away. Just try and keep notes here that he is wearing gloves, so they don't seem to have helped in that circumstance. I think that slipped out of his grip.
Bit of a blade into the end zone there.
Yep. there as we start to bring that in. There's our turnover right there. Mark Lloyd unable to reach it. And you're right, Signa, that was a blade thrown to Pressimone, which was intentionally thrown that way.
And there you get a look at the conditions that the players are playing in right now on the track just outside of Varsity Stadium as you watch our coverage of quarterfinal action of the AUDL on Bell Local. The challenge is when you receive the disc, guys, is take a deep breath and maybe rub off the any kind of condensation that's on the disc, and we'll see how the Rush approach that now.
Well, the coaches of the Rush are not holding back. They've just fielded a very strong O-line. Tyler McKnight with the disc.
Saw him take a moment there to wipe the disc off with his shirt. Anything you can do. Gloves, wiping it off with your shirt. Everyone's dealing with this, and Adrian Yearwood's dealing with it too. He just dropped that one.
Double team here by the Rush.
Matsuka with the disc. He's going to be a big handler for this DC Breeze team. He's going to quarterback this when DC, especially close down to the end zone, look for Matsuka to throw to the end zone and to be looking for a dump all the time here.
Yeah, Matsuka seems to be getting open fairly well right now. A lot of weaving happening.
And you can see anything come out of his hands to go to the end zone. Backhand, forehand, upside down hammer.
Law percentages eventually ate into that. Jonathan Neely, unfortunately, with the draw for the DC Breeze.
And they had really that, you know, you're building up the field, you use a dozen or more passes, and that's gonna hurt. Especially if the Rush come down with this.
That's great concentration and a catch by Steve Armitage there. He seems to be all right. It looked like he was rolled over a little bit on that reception. Great defensive bid as well by the Breeze player.
And a confident throw from Toronto. That was a huge huck, almost the full length of the field to get to Steve Armitage. I believe it was Thompson McKnight.
Armitage known for catching those deep strikes and knowing there's a defender on his back as well, and no fear at all.
Yeah, maintains concentration to make that catch under a lot of pressure. Steve Armitage, not just known for running and getting open, but the concentration to fight for that disc in the end zone was incredible.
So right now, 6-3 Toronto, less than 2 minutes to play in the opening quarter.
It's interesting to watch the matchups here. Well, there we have another throwaway right away. Good tight defense here by Breeze. Lindquist was way off, thinking he was in the end zone there, but an excellent catch by Trevor Henry there for the reception in the end zone.
Just got that toe in the corner to score that point for Toronto.
Just another overthrow, maybe a little slippery on the feet.
That's the key play this point, is that turnover from the DC Breeze. You know, what should be an easy reset pass gets turned over, and Toronto capitalizes with only about like 30 yards to work to get to the end zone.
Yeah, Trevor Henry showed great concentration to get that foot down in bounds there too, as we saw in the replay.
Another floaty pass that we saw from Toronto there, and yet again concentration under pressure to make the catch.
are in the last minute of play in the opening quarter, and DC would love to breathe a little bit of life into their offense right now. The chilly offense that we saw to start the game.
Let's see if Brett Matsuka can quarterback this offense to a point.
They put Isaiah Mesa-Kelly on DiGirolamo. We have a travel call.
I think it was Stahl dead.
Stahl.
That 7-second silent count can be vicious.
It can be, and that's a victory for your downfield defenders. Anatoly Vasilyev with the disc. He's being marked by Matsuka.
Phil Watanabe with the point from Anatoly Vasilyev.
And thought about a big spike, guys, but held it back there. 4 seconds to play on the clock, and there you have it.
Well, he's pretty pumped up, and Phil Watanabe, a couple of centuries of experience of Ultimate, more than some of the others on the field here. Well, maybe not centuries, but let's say decades.
And he went up and made sure that, cradled it into his chest to make sure that he got that point. That was critical for Toronto. Massive amount of momentum that they've got right now. Up 8-3 in this, almost nearing the end of the first quarter.
And you have to wonder if some of those maybe travel legs for DC are coming into play. They did get into Toronto this afternoon at 3 p.m., driving all the way here. So we'll see if it's a different Breeze team that comes out in the second quarter.
Toronto with the out of bounds pull. We'll put a, looks like they're going to put a double team.
4 seconds left. And the throw goes up. DiGirolamo's in the mix. Had a hand on it, but it's a turnover, and that's the end of the first quarter.
So obviously, guys, the Toronto Rush have come out to play. This is their house. They want to move on to defending their crown, and this is the first step. And the DC Breeze, they have some work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They have, well, they're down 8-3 at the moment, the DC Breeze. It's only the first quarter. Much can happen still here in this game. I think the biggest concern I would have with the DC Breeze is to see how pumped up the Rush are right now.
It's hard to fight against that momentum, Robin, when Toronto is at home and is starting to feel it. And with an 8-3 lead, again, it's by no means insurmountable, but it's a strong lead for Toronto to come out that fast, that early. Both teams are really going to have to make some adjustments here between the first and second quarter to respond to the weather conditions and how the other team is playing.
Absolutely, and it's just confidence and energy. We've just saw a great showing of the Rush huddle, and now look at us over at the DC Breeze huddle. You can see the two different energy levels right now, and they're going to need to get themselves pumped up. It's a lot of adrenaline needed in this game, and you can see they're getting talked to right now by their coach. Just to remind them there's lots of time left in this game, and they are a great team.
And in talking to Mike Malloy before the game, he said, we have a 20-player roster that can compete with anyone, and they certainly do have some stars on their team. If you look at some of the club teams that they play for, including, you know, Double Wide, Ring of Fire, Truck Stop. You know, I mean, they've got players to call on, and they're going to have to call on those experienced players going forward in this second quarter.
You might see the lines tighten up a little bit to try to bring this this game back within reach. It's a 5-point margin right now, so you might see them mix up the lines a little bit to get their stars out there and to score some points right away. It's going to be critical for them starting out the second quarter, Signa.
And I think they just a number of the difference in the score right now has got to do with a number of the simple turnovers. Looks like perhaps bad footing. You know, a dump pass now does not get completed. We've seen it on both sides, but just a little bit more with the Breeze.
And the Rush have capitalized on those turnovers. They seem to be given like nice short real estate, the kind of plays, you know, almost a set piece when they get in into the DC zone. Here we go, second quarter underway. Toronto 8, DC 3.
Well, there we have a Mark Lloyd to Cam Harris huck play. Sometimes it's Cam Harris to Mark Lloyd.
They do switch it up a bit, yeah. Sometimes they switch it up a little bit, that's right. In most cases, it scores a point, though.
Yeah, they're a dynamic duo, and definitely something that the DC Breeze will need to sort out how to shut down.
This almost looks like they had this planned off the back, guys.
Oh, yeah.
And compared to the way that the offense was playing at the beginning of the first quarter, where it felt like it was a little bit tentative, like happy to make short throws, happy to dump, they came out confident in that second quarter and willing to launch a massive huck from Mark Lloyd to Cam. And why not? It works.
It works, or the disc is down in the other end zone. Either way, it's the right play to make at that time.
DC's working on a bit of a set offense here now.
Well, it's a great effort there to bring that disc back into bounds. They were not able to come down with it, but we saw half of a greatest attempt at that stage.
That was a real miscue from DiGirolamo to put that disc out of bounds and out of reach of his teammate.
Saw that one slip out.
Jared Marin with a miscue there. Felt like a wet disc when the way that one came out.
We're seeing it from both sides. It's that second time we've seen Alex Throne dealing with the slippery disc.
I wonder if they brought any gloves for Alex.
Maybe making a shopping trip at half.
Jonathan Martin catches that point for Toronto, puts them up 9-3. Scored the first 2 points this quarter, excuse me.
Yes, and there was Jonathan Martin being marked by Tyler DiGirolamo, and Martin quite convincingly coming down with that disc in the end zone. Looks like there was a play on that disc and then he pulled off. He was waiting for something. Not sure what. Maybe an up call from his defenders.
Yeah, when your back is to the disc, you need that communication on the field so you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we didn't see it there, or he didn't hear them there.
And you can see the frustration is in his expression after that disc was caught in front of him. He didn't get any help from his teammates. So what's the score now? 10-3.
10-3.
Hey, he's looking, Phil. Phil.
It's a tough catch to make, very low to the ground at this wet disc. And DC reached down to get that and couldn't make the catch. That's a turnover to Toronto.
Liam Schranko, the team captain last year.
That's a catch you have to make, though. Maybe take a tumble down. There's Remy Oji. Remy Oji going down onto his knees to make sure he safely had that. And that's sort of the example I mean about the previous drop by DC.
Again, with the rain picking up again here at Varsity Stadium, you have to be sure of every catch and make every effort. Remy did not want to be the guy dropping that in the end zone. Goes down on his knees to make sure he cradles that into his chest.
Yeah, exactly. He could have maybe tried to take another step. You take another step, sometimes you kick your own hand with your leg. This way he's sure he's got lots of space to bring that disc in.
And the only thing he was fighting was the elements on that catch. The defender was not close to Remy. He'd made a great cut to get open.
So it's all smiles on the Rush sideline, and as we look at the receiving 7 right now, maybe hands on their heads saying, what do we need to do here? Well, it probably starts with the simple plays, the sure passes, and the sure catches.
Stop the bleeding. Very closely, nearly intercepted there by the Rush. DC Breeze looking a little more anxious here. They need to remember it 1 point at a time. No rush. No joke meant there either.
Matsuka with this disc again, he is going to be the guy who sets up this offense.
Not in.
Matsuka's got that big repertoire of throws. And that was his teammate, Ryan Nam, throwing that one into the end zone. So, Robin, you said stop the bleeding?
Well, it takes exactly that. You just need to get that point on the board and then deal with your defense. If your defense gets a turnover, then on you go again. That's one step at a time. You can't get too concerned about the fact that it was at the time a 7 or 8 point gap. They just need to complete their offensive plays and then let their defense do their job.
And it was a hammer to the end zone there, but Tyler Kunsa made sure that he caught that, took it in his chest. That was they needed that point. That was a critical catch, and they're trying to break this momentum that Toronto has. DC is coming out on defense here.
DC Breeze goal, scored by number 8, assisted by number 42.
They're complaining about the chairs. Complaining about the chairs right in the back of the truck. Give me your dry chairs, your dry chairs. I feel like saying that right there.
Go back in!
Got it, Jeff, got it, Jeff.
They can play short pass offense and long pass offense.
I was just about to say, that was no talking from us, because that was a textbook way of using the width of the field and the length of the field, and Mark Lloyd on the end of that.
This is a good time to talk about that width of the field, because that's one of the big differences for anyone watching that is used to recreational ultimate. This field is 13 yards wider and another 10 yards longer than a recreational ultimate field. And that extra width in particular provides great alleys and space, makes it very hard for the defenders to play properly man-on-man against someone. Hey, Russell?
And the width is an issue, the length of the field is an issue, but DC expects that because of the weather conditions, the deep guys are going to cut back to the disc. So you kept on hearing from the sidelines, you were hearing under. It's because they were expecting the cuts to come back to the disc, so they're expecting that, and despite the fact that they were expecting it, they were still able to make those passes and work with the undercuts all the way down the field. So footing could be an issue, speed could be an issue, but despite the fact they're expecting the undercuts, they're still getting open.
We have Vasilyev marked up against Throne, which I think is a strong markup. And we have Gord Harrison against Matsuka. And here we have the turnover.
Matsuka can throw a lot of throws. I don't think he wants to throw all of those in the rain.
And Alex Thorne is really having some struggles out there, and he may, as you alluded to, may have to think about going to some gloves or something.
Jonathan Martin just cramming himself in there.
Got position on his defender and is able to tiptoe in front of that line to catch that from Vasiliev.
And guys, Jonathan Martin seems to be, well, he's got at least 4 points so far in this game. He seems to be creating some problems for DC. So maybe the matchups causing some problems, maybe focusing a little bit too much on Toronto's other two big players, and Martin is the beneficiary.
Yeah, well, this is one of the areas where Toronto has, let's say, an advantage. They have so much depth that this is their D-line we see out there. And we have Jonathan Martin, a very strong defender, also quite capable of handling. We have Anatoly Vasiliev, who threw that into Martin, very strong handler and very quick defender.
If you're going to take a couple players away from Toronto as options, there's still a lot of players to fill in. So it's a tough assignment when you're on defense playing against the rush.
Toronto's D-line obviously a big factor in this game right now. And as you can see on the scoreboard, 13-4 for the rush.
On the double team there, tried to get a throwaway, but there was a contact call, so we're seeing the disc advance 10 yards for the DC Breeze.
Now back on us now, on us now. Far side, Neva! Yeah, Carl!
Layout catch attempt by the DC Breeze, but couldn't hold on to the disc as they came down to the ground there.
Sam Trackman trying to track that down and clapping his hands together because he knows maybe on another day he might have had it.
It was a great bid. It was a great bid, and it really purely, that's the conditions.
There's a great angle there from the camera, seeing the sort of the thrower's eyes view there against the mark.
That came out like a wet disc from Jared Marin to Jeff Lindquist. He could not make that catch.
Alex Throne has picked up the disc, recentering here. They're going to force his flick.
Breaks underneath to get that point.
So the Breeze pick up their 5th point of the game so far, and as you're watching, I see your quarterfinal action of the Toronto Rush and DC Breeze in American Ultimate Disc League action. The Rush really running away with things right now with about 6 minutes to play before halftime. And, you know, is now a chance to bring in some new players into the game, or do you keep pushing because you know that the Breeze could chip away at this game?
There is very little opportunity for experimentation in this game with what's on the line. A playoff berth at championship weekend in Toronto. While it would be nice to get a few other players on the field, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I would think Rush management mandate is to get their team into the playoff weekend here, and they'll do everything they can to make sure that happens with the strongest lineup.
A chance to win $25,000 and, of course, the coveted trophy, which they held over their heads last year.
They like an 8-point lead, but they'd be even more happy with an 18-point lead. Travel called on Anatoly Vasiliev. That's a turnover to the DC Breeze.
It was just on his pivot there. I'd be interested in seeing that call over again. It didn't seem like anything too significant that he was doing. We have a turnover, and that call stands.
Rush have another chance to get the disc back here.
Underthrown, probably again a situation of coming out, wet disc coming out improperly, that time from Sachin Reina's hands. Got Matsuka who's going to quarterback this offensive point.
He's looking at tight defensive coverage down the field, though. Everybody is really tight to their offensive players for the Rush. Not a lot of options.
I see they're playing a bit of a zone. We have Mark Lloyd playing as the deep defender, and there we have Adrian Yearwood just stepping into the lane to pick that pass up.
Gets the turnover they were looking for. A
very sweet put by Thompson McKnight to Steve Armitage in the end zone.
With that turnover, I don't think DC had a chance to get back on their defensive coverage, and Steve Armitage slips away in the back. But really, the key play there was the block and the interception by Toronto.
Yeah, two good replays of strong Toronto defense there, putting the pressure on for DC Breeze. We're facing a team that has come out to play today. And the rain is now coming down. It appears to be even harder.
Maybe just like the score, when it rains, it pours, and good luck working your device. Jackie Howe trying to probably put in some stats, and he's got plenty to plug in, that's for certain.
A little Candy Crush in between points.
This side!
Puck goes up from DiGirolamo, and it's caught.
Not in.
Tyler Kuntz has got it on the goal line. Point for DC.
Toronto Rush players there may have thought that he caught that disc before he did his leap into the end zone. Either way, it is a point for DC Breeze.
When in doubt, when you're down by 8 or 9 points, go back to your strong guns. DiGirolamo looks for a huck early in that point.
And DiGirolamo in that instance was playing upfield. They did not put him down for the downfield strike.
So perhaps playing against character. If they're going to play him like he's going to go long all the time, they'll take the inside stuff and handle a bit.
That's better, guys.
You find a lot of the players that we're seeing here, you know, the traditional role of cutter, handler. There's a lot of combo players as well, both on offense and defense, and you need that. I mean, we're in pro ultimate here. You know,
You can't sell a deep strike without having a proper in cut, and vice versa. You need to convince them that you're capable of both sides of play. So yeah, the top players are going to be strong, both as a handler and as a downfield cutter. And on cue, Mark Lloyd into the end zone.
He's definitely a player that can play offense and defense, that's for sure. And he showed it right there.
Mark Lloyd, your 2013 league MVP, and we've seen plenty of highlight reel moments from him, and obviously some great hustle on this play.
Thompson McKnight, such great touch with the disc. Now that's the second very sweet throw we've seen from him.
So in rainy conditions, DC thinks that they want to force flick to see how they can throw in wet conditions on their flick side. And in that point, you see 3 successive flicks go down the field without hesitation from Toronto to score in the end zone to their star, Mark Lloyd. So perhaps looking for some adjustments. DC is going to have to think about this. They're going to have to get through 3.5 more minutes of this quarter. They're going to have to go into the locker room and start to think about what they can do in the second half to close a big gap in the score. Big bid by Watanabe. Again, DiGirolamo back handling.
Yeah, and he blades one into the turf. Vasiliev with the disc.
Seeing number 8, Tyler Kunza, slipping a bit on the turf. They are familiar with the turf. They do play on AstroTurf in DC that they wet because apparently that's the way it's supposed to be. And another point by Mr. Martin.
Yeah, Vasiliev to Martin. This is the D-line core, and they're once again getting their stuff and their score.
The D-line is playing confident offense on the turn, so Great play there. Martin is ripping up the score sheet right now for the Toronto Rush.
Yeah, and the D-line is putting great pressure on downfield against the DC Breeze cutters. And then it's leading to more touches than DC Breeze would like, and eventually a wet disc throwaway.
Yeah, and the pressure's not only downfield on those cutters and the defensive coverage that's there, but they are tight to their handlers as well. We saw a massive layout there from Watanabe for what was a reset pass. So with that, being up in the score by 10 points, they're taking some risks here on defense, and they're going for everything.
They're putting a great show on for their fans who are sitting here in the rain. Which is what
the fans deserve it.
Absolutely.
Mazuka with a huck there.
Too much pace on that disc, nothing for them to run into.
And Ryan Nam made a great attempt to go up and pull that in.
So Toronto 16, DC 6 as we close in on 2 minutes left before halftime.
Great hand block on that disc. Telegraphed that huck perhaps a little too much. You can hear the chatter. You can hear all the players coaching and helping on where they mark, where are your guys going.
Active sideline so important, as we were mentioning. It's just 7v7 on the field. Constant cutting, defending, facing the disc, not facing the disc.
Ooh, that's an uncharacteristic play there. But there's a contact call, and it's against Toronto, I believe.
Hey, we got 1 minute, guys.
Perhaps too aggressive a mark.
Looks like the refs are going to take a second to chat about that just to make sure they get the call right. Looks like no call.
Looks like a turnover.
DC's not happy with that.
They're definitely not happy now.
It's a frustrating situation for DC to see that call and then to see it reversed. They thought that they were going to get the disc, they were going to maintain possession on that play, and instead it's a turnover. Your brain starts to shift like you're going to play offense, defense, and then all of a sudden the refs change it on you. That's one of the perils of playing with refs, I guess.
That's right. The decisions get made quickly too. In Rec Ultimate, we see a long discussion. One of the reasons why we have these refs is to speed the game up. DC coach is trying to get a clarification on that call.
I think in the end they agreed, a little tap on the back.
(17-6) lead for Toronto over DC right now, and we're getting pretty close to halftime.
And the DC players just huddling right now, even before halftime, just to get that right mentality going, to lift the players back up, led by Matsuka.
Check out great bid earlier there from Yearwood. Risky pass across the field to Thorne.
Coming up to 30 seconds left in the half. DC does not want to force anything here.
Away side, away side. Hand high, hand high, hand high. Get off. Back off.
Thorne's got to be looking to the end zone now with about 10 seconds left.
Got a big mark on him. Not phase him at all. Down to 3 seconds.
Blade goes up.
In his hands, but could not come down with that wet disc.
Again, strong mark by Toronto Rush there, knowing the time was coming down. DC just ran out of time and had to force up that blade right at the end.
When you get to 5 seconds left on the clock, why not put a double team on and force up a goofy throw? And that's exactly what they were able to get. You know, DC knew how much time they had to work with going down, but they got forced into a situation there where they had to throw something up because of the clock. And I think they should have managed the time a little bit better going down there, but it shows the strength of the Toronto defense in that situation.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that was a great half for the Toronto Rush. They got everything they wanted out of that one for sure. But they should expect DC Breeze to be ready in that second half. And I'm sure they're going to have a strong discussion here during the halftime.
So as we enter halftime right now, the DC Breeze looking to regroup, get their legs under them, try and find anything really to get back in this game. Toronto Rush in control, 17-6, as a spot in championship weekend is on the line. We'll be back with more.
I'm field side at the half with Phil Watanabe. Phil, an incredible performance so far by the Toronto Rush in this playoff game. You guys are up 17-6 going into the half. Tell me, despite the fact that great performance, you going to make any adjustments going into the second half?
I don't think we're going to make any adjustments. I think that what we're doing well today is we're taking each point. We're playing each point as hard as we can, and it's resulting in some successes so far. But the game, it's a game of runs, and with this weather making it very unpredictable, you don't know what can happen. So just 1 point at a time. I know that's a big cliche, but the intensity, you can only really focus so much, right?
Right, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that DC is going to have to come into the second half with a few adjustments. One of the things that's really influencing both teams in the way they're playing is the rain. We're seeing it kind of come in and come out. What are you doing in order to respond to that situation?
I think we talked about it before the game. Every point, every throw, every catch needs your absolute 100% focus. All you can think about is what you're doing in that exact moment and nothing else, and I think that's helping us right now.
And looking at the second half now, I'm expecting that they're going to go back to their big guns, Thorne, DiGirolamo, Brett Matsuka. Are you going to pay any special attention to those players in the second half?
I don't think anything special. I think what we're doing right now is we have some of our top guns on them. Jonathan Martin, Tolia, Trevor Henry is covering Brett a couple times, and they're doing a great job. And this rain is probably slowing all their good players down, just like it is ours. But, offense is a little bit tougher in this type of rain. So I think we're keying on that.
Great. Well, thanks, Phil. Appreciate your time, and good luck in the second half.
Thanks, Russell.
From a multi-sport background, played tons of soccer, hockey, and rugby growing up, and really high school volunteer hours is what turned me into Ultimate. I went to my sister's elementary school and coached their team, even though I've never played Frisbee before. They taught me how to throw a flick. The coach taught me the basic rules and pretty much got me started into Frisbee and sent me out to join some juniors league. And right after that, I pretty much got hooked. Every other sport is more like you have a specific role. here in Ultimate, you get to do everything. You become you're a cutter or like a wide receiver, and then you become the quarterback. You become the head of the offense when you have the Frisbee. And then defensively, it's a struggle. Like, it's the hardest defensive game I've ever played. So it's just a challenge all around.
I'm here fieldside with Tyler Kunsa at halftime. Tyler's getting his ankle taped, and we thought we'd take a moment to speak with him. So, Tyler, what's going on with the ankle, and is this a new injury or something old?
It's something old. I did it a couple months ago. It's been re-aggravating me, and the turf's a little hard out here, so it's been rough cutting up and down the field on it. Just precautionary more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the rain play a big factor in the game so far with drops, discs slipping out of throwers' hands. Is there anything that you're going to think about differently as you come into the second half?
Yeah, I mean, the drops and the missed throws, those are really intangibles. It's going to happen. We obviously got to focus harder to fix that, but more importantly, we're going to come out with more intensity and a better focus, keep our heads up, try to get some of this lead back.
Yeah, so it's a pretty big lead that you have to cover here. So 17-6 coming into the second half. Any magic in terms of the game plan? Your thoughts right now as to what you're going to adjust in the second half?
Yeah, we need to go back to our roots. Really, it's just the fundamentals we're messing up, throwing, catching, hitting our resets, and I think we can fix that and come out strong in the second half.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Tyler, and good luck in the second half.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hit him. We talked about always this swing, so down and across. You got to make sure that this guy isn't up here.
I started, I think, pretty typical Canadian sport mix of hockey in the winter and played competitively for a lot of years, and baseball in the summer. I got a few concussions and hockey was no longer a good option, and baseball moved a little too slow. So I switched around. I did play some volleyball and basketball, but Ultimate I did in high school for the first time. And I turned out to be pretty good at it, able to throw, and obviously I'm fairly tall, which helps a lot. And it's something that I did through high school, and then when I got to university, was able to pick up there. There's a strong Ultimate presence at a lot of universities. And I wanted a bit more, so when I was in the summers at school or coming out of it, I looked for club teams and found them, and then this Pro League started and appealed to me completely.
I actually was just finished gym, and my friend asked me to come out to tryouts, and I had all my gym stuff, so I went out. I thought it was kind of silly, to be honest, when I first went out. And I don't know what it was about it. I made the team, and I think I just liked how it seemed like a combination of all the different sports that I'd played growing up. It seemed like you'd play defense like in basketball, and then like in soccer you'd be running the field non-stop, stuff like that. And to be honest, I guess I found my skill set really applied to Ultimate, and that kind of made me probably play it more because of that. Particularly, I think I liked passing. I liked team game in all the other sports. In basketball, I was always a better passer than I was anything else. In soccer, I actually was a better passer than I was anything else. And I loved passing. I loved setting people up for goals and stuff like that. And I guess Ultimate, it was like you could do all the other stuff and you still are passing. You're still doing that. And I think that, to me specifically, was what I really liked about it.
Okay, just about ready to start the second half. Quarterfinal action of the American Ultimate Disc League versus Toronto Rush versus the DC Breeze. And the Rush in control of this one. Robin Russell, 17-6. Robin, fair to say maybe this wasn't the scoreline we were expecting at the half?
No, I don't think either team was expecting this. Rush, of course, was hoping for this, but I certainly expected a stronger first half from the DC Breeze. I think we can expect a stronger second half from the DC Breeze, and if I'm the Rush coaches, I'm making my players realize they need to play as hard as they did in the first half.
Now, Russell, maybe the simple things got the Breeze down in this game. What are their challenges in the second half?
I think the challenges in the second half are going to be the same as the first half in terms of the weather conditions and coming up against a Toronto team that is hot and has a lot of momentum right now. But I think that the other thing that they're really going to have to deal with is sort of the mental game. They are really down on themselves in terms of how they've played in the first half. They've got to get their brains turned around and get positive for the second half if they're going to close that score gap.
And we'll see if there's going to be a game of it in this second half. About to start as we see who moves on to the Final Four. Toronto Rush getting ready to pull this second half, pulling to DC, and the Rush in control. Can DC come back and make this a game in the second half?
Well, we see the familiar players on our on the Rush D-line right away. Vasilyev and Martin. Got Lundqvist there. Excellent defense right away from Liam Bradford. Sorry, that Gord Harrison. And right back from whence they came, the Rush get a stuff. D-line gets a stuff and a score.
The rain's coming down even harder now than we saw at the end of the first half. So the rain really picked up during halftime, and it was a challenge for both teams in the first half. But it's an even bigger challenge right now with the force that this rain is coming down. They're really going to have to think about this and be sure of all of those catches and all of those throws in the second half.
And I don't think we need to drill home enough that that was probably not what DC was talking about at halftime, the way that they wanted to start this second half, as we see the Rush in front in command.
If DC wants to have a chance at this, the offense has to be productive. They have to be confident in their offense, and instead, they still look tentative, having trouble with dump passes, having trouble with grip.
Yeah, not leading a receiver in that instance led to a fairly straightforward D, a good D, but still one that should have been completed. And here we see yet another issue of a failed connection.
Great defensive effort there by Tyler Kunsa to get that interception, to get the turnover for DC, and they work back the other way really quickly. They need an opportunity like this. They need to put a point on the board in the second half to have any hope at building some momentum to close the gap. That was massively underthrown by DC.
Well, I think it slipped out of his hand again. I mean, they're not establishing a firm grip. It seems it's a wet disc, and they're just not getting the release.
Alex Thorne didn't even look at that disc. He just kind of glanced and watched it drop in front of him. He did not expect a throw like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure his teammate was so happy about that.
Great connection there between Marin and Mesa Kelly.
Well, the Rush are continuing to roll at the start of the second half. We've already talked about it, but the DC Breeze need to, they really need to get their focus here. Every player has obviously got to play up their level of play considerably.
And Russell, you were mentioning about the DC forcing flick. I mean, we're just seeing the flick working for Toronto on this day.
DC thinks that they can gain an advantage by forcing them flick, and that's proven to be incorrect throughout this game. And you could tell in that throw, the big throw there, the crucial throw there was Marin's throw, and he's very confident the way he's throwing with those gloves on that he's got. So he likes these conditions right now, it looks like. He's happy to throw that down the line. And also, I believe Jarrett's left-handed too, so I'm not sure that was a flick for him or it was a backhand. But with the gloves, confident throw, because that was the big one to Mesa Kelly.
Gord Henderson with a long pull, great field position.
You can almost hear the raindrops falling on the field right now. I mean, that's how fat the rain is coming down here at Varsity Stadium.
Great patient work by the DC Breeze here on offense.
They're dealing with very tight marks all downfield. We've seen great defense, but we're seeing excellent patience here, as you said, Russell.
They want to keep putting it back in the hands of Brett Matsuka.
Team USA player and their quarterback forced throw.
Great mark from Remy Ojo.
Great throw from Lindquist to Armitage there, and Armitage makes sure the catch goes down on the ground to cradle that into his body. He's not going to make a mistake.
And there we go, Gord Harrison with a nice hammer throw into the end zone for Liam Brockton.
Hammer throw that's not easy in this rain with the grip, so good for him. That's a tough throw to make right now.
And probably a sign that everything seems to be going in the Rush's favor right now. Just in full control and the confidence. I mean, I think you both talked about that, you know, this is a group that's played together for a long time, but to have that confidence in these conditions that they can make that throw and someone is going to be on the end of it.
Yeah, and when I talked to Phil Watanabe at halftime, you know, he said something that's very true, which is this is a game of runs. And they had a few runs in the first half, and when they came into the second half, right now they're on a run again. And when they're on a run, they're able to make confident throws. They're able to take high-risk moves, especially with the lead that they have, and they're making them work.
I think that's the first D point I've seen where we don't have Vasilyev on the field. But Phil Watanabe filling in there with some great defense.
He was step for step on that. Jonathan Martin puts another one on the score sheet for the Toronto Rush.
And Mason Kelly leads them well. We have a 21-6 score at this stage.
And Martin's got at least 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, and Presimone, I thought perhaps had a play inside on that disc, but perhaps not. It was just too much pace on the throw.
And Paul Peak and Mike Malloy kind of, you know, almost biting their lips a little bit. It's like, you know, what can you say to your crew when you're up against the competition today and knowing that, you know, maybe your club just didn't come out, you know, with the pedal to the metal like they wanted to.
I'm sure there was a lot of discussion at the half about adjustments to respond to this rush lead and to respond to these weather conditions. I would have expected to see perhaps a different look from them on their offense, but right now that offense is still sputtering. It's giving up a number of turnovers, and they're going to have to make sort of mid-half adjustments. Once again, an uncharacteristic, unforced error there by the DC Breeze. Give Toronto a turnover.
Yeah, Justin Solis just dropping a straightforward pancake. Jonathan Martin once again, another reception in the end zone.
So if you're just joining us, we're in the third quarter of action. Quarterfinals, Toronto versus DC, and the Rush in full control, 22-6. And not the scoreline we would have expected, guys. These two teams had quite the battle going on. The first game of the season, a 1-point victory by Toronto, and then a 10-point victory, but we know DC didn't have some of their players. But today, all those players are here, and this is what we're seeing right now.
This is a different game than those other two, though. This is a different game because the playoff implications of this game, there's a lot of pressure on all of these players. This is a different game because of the rain factor. Toronto has responded well to the weather conditions, and they feel like they're still playing confident. We've seen 2 hammer throws in the last couple of points. They're not playing conservative offense now. They may have come out early like that, but they're playing really confident offense at this point. On the other side, DC is having trouble making connections on pancake catches and reset throws. So they got to talk about this.
Yeah, and there they are, huddled together. And I'm sure their coaches are just trying to say, look, okay, before this thing completely runs out, let's try and get our fundamentals together and see if we can pull a run or two ourselves together and then bring this game back into some sort of control.
And Robin, you know, I've seen a couple, you know, maybe some smiles. And this is often, you know, you see the huddle come together and it's like, guys, let's just take a deep breath. Remember how we got here. let's play for each other for the next little while, and that's maybe all you can say.
It really is all you can say. Many of these players on the DC Breeze, as we've mentioned before, play with top-level club teams, a Ring of Fire, Truck Stop, Double Wide. Those are all teams that have been in high-pressure situations against top U.S. team opponents or international components or opponents. They've been in tough situations. You don't need to say much. You don't need to tell somebody how to catch a pancake. All you need to do is motivate. And I guess that's really what the coaches are trying to do there, is get them to calm down a bit.
So here we go after a timeout. Third quarter, about 8 minutes left to play. The Rush in full control as we get ready to see them pull to DC.
We haven't seen much of a zone defense by the Breeze. I guess many of the turnovers have been against the D-line, and they haven't had a chance to adjust. But I'd look to see them put some of that on, just to shake things up.
It's a close catch on the end zone line, but it's called out of bounds.
There's a great angle we saw there. The question was, did he catch it? His feet were certainly in bounds.
To bring the disc up.
It's hard to tell at this stage what the ruling was, but it seems to me that that was just not a received disc. It was feet were in bounds.
The other thing that might have happened, though, if you saw the disc was very close to the ground when he caught it, so his feet might have been in bounds, but that disc may have touched the turf on the out-of-bounds side of the line.
Exactly. I think that's the call. Another upside down one for you.
2 hands and 2 gloves makes that catch in the end zone for Toronto. Trevor Henry made sure.
(23-6), and we're seeing just a few new faces being dotted into different lines, getting a taste of this playoff action from Varsity Stadium.
Well, the O-line hasn't been getting a lot of play time, so the coaches are giving the Rush O-line some D-line assignments now.
It's no fun standing on a wet sideline watching your D-line get all those points when you're the O-line. You want to get action.
Just means you get to razz each other a little later on, right?
Right. That's the third throw from Alex Thorne that I've seen flutter out of his hands like that because the disc is wet.
Yeah, he seems to be completely psyched out throwing anything. Hands being thrown in the air, some frustrations. They really need to pull it together. Alex Thorne, needs to get himself sorted here.
And Alex is taking a slow walk off the field right now. He's got to think about this. If this DC Breeze team is going to get their offense back online, Alex needs to be a part of that. Meanwhile, on the Toronto sideline, it's all hilarity and smiles. Those guys are having a great time, and why shouldn't they? They got an 18-point lead.
And they can taste championship weekend, which of course the Rush are hosting July 26th and 27th right here at Varsity Stadium. And it's going to be quite the playoffs as the Rush look to defend their crown. They look well in control to doing that right now.
We saw Alex there getting a little bit of a massage from his teammates and everyone just saying, like, you're a great player, don't worry about it.
back up, drop.
Great defense gets a stall count for Toronto, so that's a turnover to Toronto as DC gets stalled down.
Great reception by Matsugimi there. A little bit of an overthrow from Lindquist.
Great throw by Jeff Lindquist and a bobble and a catch by Trevor Henry in the end zone for a Toronto point.
Closer look at just how patient, and then that throw at the end, a juggle, but
he used both hands a few times.
Yeah.
You'll see a gentleman sitting there with a card right by the elevator. So the lucky item today is
rain's continuing to fall here at Varsity Stadium, and
well,
you know, with the cloud
look
cover.
At that now, Russell, just coming down. It's like vision affected, hands affected,
traction affected on the field as well, and the lights have come up as well. The field lights to help out. It's a pretty cloudy day here, as you can tell with the rain.
Yeah, those lights help a lot. And a full double team here. Rush just are continuing to put the pressure on. Great outlet pass.
Finds the open man there.
The sort of junky zone that the Rush has been putting on the DC Breeze really seems to have been working this game. Lots of risky passes. It was a great out against a double team on a trap.
You just see the repertoire of Matsuka and what he can throw.
Matsuka's left wide open on that sideline.
Back up, Jerry! Back up! Away side! Away side!
Their handlers are getting some wide open looks as they bring some of these double teams, and Ryan Am is a big handler for this team. Great catch.
Tight now! Tight, boys! Tight on the handlers! Tight!
Here the coaches, tight on the handlers, tight mark.
Tight up! Lead him right on it! Lead him right on it!
A bit of a walk. No call from the referee there.
Nam into the end zone, scores a point. That's number 14, Justin Solis, with the point for DC.
First score of the half for the DC Breeze, and they'll take it. Any way they can take it right now.
Well, that was, I don't know, 20 touches maybe, and a lot of work required there to work that disc into the end zone, but that's what they have to do. They're hesitating on any throw that isn't 100%.
You know, time isn't on their side right now. I'm closing in on about 3 minutes to play in the third quarter, but if it takes 20 passes to score, then, as you said, you'll take it. You know, as long as they're the sure passes.
This is all about a momentum change now. Their O-line needs to score, and then they need to have their D-line produce a couple of opportunities for scores, and then you've got a streak, and then all of a sudden Rush might be thinking a little bit. That's what you need to do to shift the momentum. But here we have a bit of a junky zone being played downfield by DC Breeze. Now they've switched to man.
Toronto continues to be happy to throw the underneath throws.
Again, the Rush making sure that they have two hands on that disc no matter what the cost there, and it pays off in the end zone. Yeah, 26-7 guys right now.
Couple of catches on that offensive point for Toronto where they the throwers got bailed out by stuff that was floating around, and that pass to Cam Harris was a little messy as well.
Yeah, if I'm DC Breeze and searching for something positive right now, it's that they had two very good D line opportunities right there, and so the Rush, little sloppy, little floaty, and maybe it's the conditions. But if I'm the Breeze, I say, look, let's get our own line point here, and then keep out the pressure. Remy Ojo all over that, it appeared, but he just misread it at the last moment.
Great catch by Justin Solis. Go up for that. That was the offense they planned coming into that point. They cleared the field for Justin to make that cut, and they're willing to put it up. They have to be right now, because if they're going to build any offensive momentum, it has to start now.
Take another look at how this play began.
Tyler Kuntz threw that, I believe, and he was unmarked, so he is able to wind up a backhand to Justin Solis, and Justin Solis goes up against Remy and comes down with one hand. Confident catch by him after making a long run, right on the end zone line, gets an easy point to score.
Yeah, it was a great read by Justin Solis there. Saw that I think that Ojo had sort of did not have the right line on that. He's just backed up a little bit, wait for it to go over his head.
See if the DC Breeze can do something on defense here.
Well, again, they're throwing the zone. I think they're just really trying to break up that initial huck play. Now they're back to a man on.
Two minutes to play in this third quarter. Bailed out.
It might be just the way the game's going for Breeze right now. They're when it's a Rush turnover, it seems to bounce into their hands again.
Wow, everything's on their side.
So 27-8 Toronto as the rain pelts down here at Varsity Stadium in this quarterfinal action. And, well, it's a tale of two teams, really, how we're stacking up right now. All the stars of Toronto came out to shine, and for the Breeze, just hasn't been their game as we roll into finishing up this quarter.
I'm not sure what DC can pull out at this point to make this a game. But right now, 27-8, late in the third quarter, this is about a runaway.
Now, guys, a couple weeks ago, I know you were on hand to see the Rush suffer their first defeat in 2 seasons. Question maybe comes to mind, Robin, is this a statement game for the Rush?
I think it is, because in this instance, that other game was very frustrating, I know, to their coaches and to the players. That they could not seem to complete a pass, could not catch a pass. And now here they are in tough conditions, in a critical game, and they're demonstrating focus. Here we have Remy Ojo into the end zone.
So that was Trevor Henry attempting that catch for Toronto, and it looks like there was a contact call on the catch. Gives Trevor Henry the disc on the goal line to score.
Great throw by Trevor Henry.
Trevor Henry got high up in the count there, and dump pass was well covered behind him, so he floated it up into the space, and Vasiliev helps him out. That was where the contact call was on that catch attempt by Trevor Henry.
So right now, 28-8 as we close in closer to the fourth quarter, and we talked about the Rush and this maybe being a statement game, guys, but how about the Breeze? I mean, third place, they really worked hard to get in this rebuilding year, I guess, and they had full confidence coming in. We talked to them before the game that they could compete with the Rush. They only lost them by a point. You know, what's the solace for them getting this far? And I guess you just... What do you learn from it? What lessons are you learning from today?
As you mentioned, I think this is a big turnaround season for DC Breeze. Compared to their performance last year, it's a massive turnaround for them. They can they can hold their heads up high with respect to their record this season. Perhaps it wasn't their year to take it all the way to the finals, but they've got a strong core to build on for next season for sure.
A lot of them, we just saw, as you were talking, Russell, another drop, again, by one of their top players. So these are all players quite capable of playing this game, and they're jacking or dropping the disc, easy drops. That's what's happening to the Breeze, whereas that's what happened to the Rush when they lost their first game ever to the Montreal Royal. Sometimes these things happen. You have the drops. And then it's really a mental game at that stage, and you need to be able to get your players up for the next point. And I think right now, especially with a 29-8 spread, that it's very difficult to get the Breeze back into this game.
We talked a little bit about the mental game in the second half, and to be honest, DC has done nothing to turn their fate around. You can tell there's a few heads that are hanging low on the sideline. I mean, it's not just the weather that's gloomy right now. It's the mood on the sideline there. These guys know that they had all the tools in their arsenal to come out and put a strong game in, and they didn't. It's a 29-8 blowout at this point with only a few seconds left in this third quarter.
We're having a countdown in the quarter here, and a deep bomb.
Might as well. So time runs down on the quarter. We will head into one more 12-minute frame in this quarterfinal here on Bell Local as we watch the Toronto Rush put in a commanding performance over DC Breeze. Seeing the players regroup. Usually at this juncture, we're talking about them getting some fluids, getting ready for the second half, but there's plenty of fluids going on out on the field.
Yes, I think they're absorbing them through their shirts.
And you'd think it'd be a tough game to play in this in these weather conditions, but you can see the smiles on the faces and the light atmosphere around that Toronto Rush team. They're having a great time in this rain. They're having a great time winning a playoff game right now, and they're pumped. They're ready to take it into the fourth quarter. You think it'd be crappy to be out here in the rain. They're having a blast.
Yeah, when we've talked about the Breeze and everything they need to do, and the challenges they're facing right now, but I think it's probably also worth saying that they enjoy playing a great game of Ultimate Frisbee. It's pretty cool for all of them to be here in a playoff game in Toronto in front of some fairly rowdy fans.
If you're going to play in the rain, it's way more fun to win.
Sure is.
You got that right. Now, the winner of this game, as we know, I'll probably pretty much in control right now, the Rush. Moving on to play either the winner of the New York Empire and Chicago Wildfire, second place team in the East, the Empire, the second place team in the Midwest, the Wildfire, both pretty evenly matched teams. So they'll play off in the semifinals July 26th here in Toronto, and the final will be on Sunday the 27th. It's going to be fantastic here.
Yes, and certainly encourage everyone to go onto the AUDL website or the Toronto Rush website for information. If you can make the game and get tickets, it'll be a fantastic live experience. And if you're looking for an online feed, then the information should be up on their websites.
Some rain-soaked fans, hopefully be sun-soaked the next time you see them at championship weekend.
Hopefully these fans come back despite the weather. We'll order better weather for championship weekend. Looks like they're ready to get the fourth quarter going.
There we go with our pull.
That came out like a wet disc.
Here's your opportunity, one step at a time for DC Breeze. Make that 21 steps they need to 0 to catch this game up.
Now last year, guys, the Rush record was 40 points in a game. Think we're on track? Possibility?
They've scored on average just under 10.5, so I think that they're 10.25. Excellent defense right there. I think that's Mason Kelly. So the referee felt that he came through the player too aggressively.
He gets to advance the disc 10 yards, and the DC Breeze retain possession of this disc.
Aaron Roberts into the end zone. Well, there we have an indication of the defending line getting themselves a point back here for the DC Breeze.
Great throw there by Matsuka to the end zone. This guy will throw anything, and he feels real confident about putting those hammers up. And it worked for him on that point. Great throw to find the open man.
That's why he's represented the United States. He's got that full arsenal on his side, and unfortunately hasn't been completely effective today, fair to say. But DC looking to get to double digits in this fourth quarter.
Let's see what defense they throw on the field. Russia has put on a bit of a mixed line. It's not their, it's a mix of their O&D lines here. Again, they're mixing things up a little bit with this lead. I think that's not surprising, getting everyone some play time. Vertical stack for the Rush. Deep strike, double team there. Nicely played on Jarrett Marin. Straight man on man by DC Breeze here.
Call from the official brings back that throw that Jeff Lindquist made across the width of the field to Jonathan Martin. They're going to move him back 10 yards. Toronto retains possession. Lloyd goes up, massive grab.
And that's one of those wow moments where you just say, yeah, we're happy number 89's on our team.
Anybody would be happy to have 89 on their team. Mark Lloyd is the cornerstone of this Toronto squad, and it's catches like that that make him that cornerstone. He'll come down with a lot on offense and on defense as well.
And again, Jonathan Martin finishing off that play.
The great IO huck from Lindquist, and Lloyd just rules in the air.
I'm not sure where Lindquist was in the count there, but it looked like he had to get that throw up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And when you're in a tough situation like that, where you don't have much left on the stall count, you're happy to put it up high in Mark Lloyd's general direction, and he'll reward you for that sort of risk.
Either way, they wanted to get rid of the disc downfield, and he's an excellent choice on such a play.
Excellent catch by DiGirolamo in the end zone. He goes up in traffic to pull that down.
Yeah, that was a wonderful catch there.
And they know time's not on their side, guys, right now. You know, almost 9 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. So, hey, deep strike, you got a guy that's basically an all-star.
Yeah,
they like their chances.
They like their chances. Again, that connection between Alex Thorne puts up a big backhand to space in the end zone, and who's there? He knows Tyler DiGirolamo is there and is going to come down with those in most cases.
Here's a replay here, just several different angles. It's just great to watch DiGirolamo track that disc down.
And to elevate above 3 defenders to pull it down.
Yeah, he just read it so well, too.
They've done that before.
Yeah, I think they may have.
The Pittsburgh connection.
But not enough in this game.
Trailing by 20 points. Do you think we'll see a sort of risk and reward strategy by DC when they do get the disc?
Well, they want to score quickly, certainly. You know, we saw them throw the zone on there, maybe looking for a quick turnover. So sometimes a man-on defense is going to be, speed up your defense as well, speed up your opportunities for turnovers. Zone requires that much more work by the offensive line, slows the game down.
Right now, just playing possession offense for Toronto is a victory. With the margin being 20 points.
Uncharacteristic throwaway there by Mark Lloyd.
Yeah, I think his downfield receiver actually turned his back and went a different way, just went to space.
Great read by DC there.
Sachin Reyna just reads that much better, goes straight to the line. Russell Howard not able to bring that down. Here we go, deep strike to Mark Lloyd.
Cam Harris to Mark Lloyd for a point.
So the two combos that we talked about in this game, back-to-back points for DC, and now you're seeing the Cam to Mark or the Harris to Lloyd.
When they get an opportunity, they'll take that every time. Cam Harris gets a wide open look at a backhand, and he sees Mark Lloyd tracking away in the back of the end zone, or in the back of the play, and he moves right to the end zone. Great throw by Cam Harris to free up Mark Lloyd there.
Cam Harris knows that when he gets the disc as a handler, that Mark Lloyd's cutting deep for him. And all he does is look up. He knows he's cutting. He probably knows exactly where he's cutting to. And conversely, Mark Lloyd knows that when Cam Harris comes down with that disc, that he's willing to put that thing up deep.
Got a little bit of spidey senses about where each other is on the field.
Absolutely. Great D by Jonathan Martin to come in underneath, but into the hands of the Breeze player.
DiGirolamo had his hand on that, but couldn't pull it in.
Maybe a little karma, as we like to call it, from the defender here. Ooh, this will be a great replay. Look at Martin in on that.
Great positioning, great run from him to keep up with DiGirolamo on that deep cut. That was their set offense coming out of the out of that point.
Again, that focus really has been there for the Rush. You know, even when there's a bit of a bobble or the throw isn't quite there, they're getting the body behind it, they're getting two hands behind it. Just the fundamentals.
That's right, Signa. You know, they certainly have. We didn't see that in the previous home game against Montreal. It was the opposite of that. And here, maybe the wet conditions force that concentration. And maybe that's part of the advantages of playing in these conditions right now for them.
I think it's both of those things. That experience against Montreal when drops were contagious on both teams, and when they were thinking about tonight's game, one of the things that they said that they were going to concentrate on is doing those things with a lot of confidence and making sure that those catches happen. So you saw earlier in the game, getting down, making sure that you're sliding under the disc rather than reaching down for it at your feet. These guys are just playing a little fast and loose right now, though. They feel confident, and they should, because they're up 22 points.
Halfway through the final quarter here. Quarterfinals, a chance to get to the Final Four in championship weekend. Just one step for the Rush to defend their crown from last season, and they look well in command here at Varsity Stadium.
Talking about concentration, those catches, those easy catches need to be two-handers in this weather. Incredible bid going away. That's Trevor Henry, excuse me. Going away. Great throw to lead him out to that space, but great concentration to stick with that disc, make the layout grab with two hands. Again, it's the unforced error that creates this offensive opportunity for Toronto. They look away to the far side, and wow, great grab. Two hands. He's laying out to make sure he gets two hands on that disc.
And the Western grad showing full concentration there. That's not a belly flop, folks. That is a bid.
It was a good bid, and I was curious actually in that angle to confirm that he did have control of the disc. It almost looked like it might have bounced off the ground into his hand again, but I think he certainly had control of it at that time.
You know, over on the west side of the ledger in the playoffs, the San Jose Spiders, we know one of the contenders will be at the semifinals. Quite active on Twitter, admiring the body of work of the Toronto Rush today. So not much is known. We don't get to see the San Jose Spiders too much, but we'll be seeing them in Toronto come July 26th and 27th.
Yes, it'll be fun to have the West Coast make the trip out here and really get a good comparison of the full league abilities.
Turnover to Toronto. They're working back down on offense now. It's one of the quirky things about the AUDL is that you only get to see Eastern opponents or Western opponents depending on what conference you're in.
Yeah, it's just the realities of the cost of travel, but you know, hopefully this over time we'll be able to see perhaps a few more opportunities on west to east and east to west road trips.
I think it makes it even tougher for the teams, though, when they show up at championship weekend. All they've got is sort of tape to work with without any game experience against a lot of these teams. They see some of the players at club tournaments, or like for instance at the U.S. Open that happened recently. So they do get some experience against the individual players, but against those teams between West and East, there isn't a lot of that game experience.
No, that's right, and it's while you can know a bit about a team by the club players it has on it. You know, a number of these West Coast teams, and we've seen it here with the DC Breeze, they have a mix of a few different club teams. You know, Ring of Fire, Truck Stop, multiple club teams. Whereas with Rush, it's pretty much 100% GOAT players. So there is a bit of a difference.
Backhand goes up. Remy's trying to track that down.
He forces the other player to go up earlier than I think he needed.
I think he forced him into a bit of a misread there. They overran the disc. Where he was an unknown commodity to them in the beginning of this game, they saw his defensive prowess and his ability to close the gap, and he shows it again right here, and again willing to put his body in the way and put his body at risk, going up for that bid.
Yeah, well, tons of respect, obviously, from the Breeze player on that play by Remy. Armitage striking deep.
Having a look around to see if anyone's with him.
Harrison with the gadget arms there, no problem, bringing that in. Remy Ojo with the assist on that.
I think his assist came back on the defense, back on that end of the field, and there he is feeding Gord Harrison in the end zone.
Steam Armitage, we see him tracking that in, and Remy looking off the first throw. Well put to Harrison.
So under 4 minutes left remaining in this quarterfinal. Toronto Rush, to say they're in control, understatement. This is the largest margin of victory I think we've seen so far this season. And we were mentioning that they had a record of 40 points in a game last year, and well, they have some time to do it. Not that that's the goal of the game. The goal is to make sure that you're in that Final Four weekend.
I think they can punch their ticket for championship weekend. They're going to be hosting 4 other teams here in Toronto, and they're pretty happy about that so far. And they're going to play out these sort of 3.5 minutes confidently. They want to maintain the momentum going into that championship weekend. You know, continue to stay injury-free and stay confident with their game.
And that's the kind of catch that really they've been missing today. John Pressimone in the end zone, but
yeah, Press makes a great catch in the end zone there. That's what we talked about. In order to make catches in these sort of weather conditions, you got to get down. You got to bring that disc into your body.
the handlebar mustachioed Pressimone.
Mustaches are key for this DC Breeze team. They told me earlier, it's sex appeal.
Okay. They're missing a little bit of maybe that moxie in the way things have turned out today. But, you know, we might just say that it's been a bad day at the office. Maybe the car legs, maybe the Toronto rain, or, you know, a really focused Rush team.
Yeah, I think all of those, we have to remember the Rush have a very deep roster, and so there are some very strong players on the Breeze, and on a good day they'll make a great game, put a great game against the Rush, but everything has to be firing, and clearly we've seen that that's not the case today.
Cam Harris tracks that down for a point for Toronto. Great leading pass.
Great foot speed from Cam Harris there. I thought actually that was going to be a situation we had to lay out, but he kept on running that down.
Cam Harris, Robin, one of those Aurora crew.
Yeah, a number of players that came out of Aurora, strong players, Jared Marin as well, I believe. A high school program up there. Were strong players for Juniors Ultimate in Toronto, and now both of them strong players for the Toronto Goat Club team and the Rush.
You know, when you compare these two teams, I think one of the interesting things is the juniors program in Toronto, which has fed a lot of these players up to this club level and also to the professional level, and also the fact that a lot of these players play together on an ongoing basis on the club team. It's a luxury that the DC Breeze players don't have. They don't have the option. They're on a variety of different club teams, and they find themselves getting pulled away to different tournaments and having conflicting schedules. So being able to get together in the same city is a real challenge for them.
As the sport develops and matures, I think that'll be really quite interesting to watch as club teams and professional teams overlap. Well, a safe catch by Remy Ojo, and then a little flip pass to, guess who, Jonathan Martin.
He's going to like his stat sheet for today.
I was running out of paper on his the side of his name here.
He's getting pretty close to his jersey number in terms of tallying his points.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's in double digits right now, and Toronto looking very strong, in strong rain.
Well, this is setting themselves up nicely for the playoff weekend. I think that they're going to face some tough competition that weekend, and I don't think they can expect their opponents to, be dropping the disc and flipping passes out of their fingertips that should normally be completed.
Looking like another setup offense for DC. Slippery disc, slips out of his hands.
Jankowski.
Turnover to Toronto.
So just under 2 minutes to play in the final frame here.
That disc never made it in bounds. Good play by Rush, by Jared Marin there.
Was played by the defender, so I think they're going to take it right from there, though.
Sorry, it was Liam Bradford that made that great defense.
Strike deep for DC. Great throw on the flick side.
AJ Jankowski hauling that in.
He got a little redemption on that point. After he threw that disc away earlier, the wet disc, he managed to get a little redemption on offense. So good for him. You need those moments on a day like today.
So a 25-point edge right now as we wind down this quarterfinal matchup in the American Ultimate Disc League here on Bell Local. Glad you could join us. Sorry about the weather. It's Robin's fault.
Yeah, I take the blame. Normally at this stage in a rec league game, I would say next point wins and see if the other team goes for it. But I don't think that's an option here.
I think some of the Toronto players might be on the sideline discussing their post-game strategy. And I got to believe it's going to be a long bus ride home to DC.
Yeah, I feel for those guys making that long trek up here and then knowing that it wasn't their time. We know 1 minute left to play in this quarterfinal.
Toronto's pretty content to play catch, maintain possession, and burn the last minute of this clock.
Well, Adrian Yearwood's not content. He wants to put it downfield.
Why not? I think there was a sideline call to say no, handle more. You've got 17 seconds. Make 6 more passes.
And if you're hearing the echo for the crowd, they want to hammer.
10 seconds left to go. Maybe Adrian Yearwood will, or Mark Lloyd will indulge them.
But that's sportsmanship right there. Don't want to rub the salt in the wounds. Commanding performance by Toronto Rush today. 37-12 the final over the DC Breeze. Right here at Varsity Stadium. And Robin, you had a chance to talk about the Rush before this game. Did they perform the way that you expected?
Well, they performed better than I expected. Let's put it that way. They performed. Everybody played at the top of their game. It was very tough conditions, as we've mentioned throughout, and we saw the focus and the energy from all of the players, 100%. And I think that it just was quite formidable for the DC Breeze to get any momentum back.
Now, if we had to put money on a player of the game, in your wise experience, I mean, it really was a team effort today, but a good bet might be Jonathan Martin.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Martin for sure. Vasilyev and Martin as a D-line duo in particular certainly made it difficult for the Breeze to get any offense going. So there's a lot of turnovers, a lot of scores from Martin in particular.
See some celebrations going on from the Rush and their fans who appreciate the performance today on the pitch.
Now, this is the end of the season for the Breeze, but and we've talked about how much they needed to get their energy together and bring their game back today. But that all being said, they have no reason to hang their heads over this season. They had an excellent record this season. And compared to where they were at last season, it was a fantastic turnaround for this team. And I think we can only look for more next year as they continue to build the strength of Ultimate, professional Ultimate in the Washington area.
A commanding performance by the Toronto Rush to win a tough game in the rain against the DC Breeze. I'm here with Jonathan Martin, who had an outstanding game. Jonathan, tell me, how do you feel about this victory in the playoffs?
We feel fantastic. I mean, coming in, certainly we didn't expect to win quite like this. We have a new mentality right now, and that's 1 point at a time. And that was a theme we were pushing the whole game. Our goal is to not get too high, not get too low. It's just 1 point every single time. So every time we score, it's a reset. If we get scored on, it's a reset. And that's the mentality we took through the whole game.
Great. And I got to believe that you expected a bit of perhaps a tougher game going up against a full squad from the DC Breeze today. And yet it was a massive victory for you. Tell me, what worked in the first half to put you in position to win this game so commandingly?
Well, we had a very specific game plan against their big guys, and we know who they are, and we know what they do well. We knew that hucking would be difficult in this rain, which is one of their biggest threats. You know, so pushing guys underneath and putting hard handler coverage was what we were focusing on, and we generated a lot of quick turns early, and from that capitalize on quick scores, and that was the game plan, and it worked perfectly. I think the weather helped us, but certainly it all worked out exactly as we wanted.
Great. Well, the weather and the game plan both contributed to a great victory for you. So as you were saying, 1 point at a time, 1 game at a time as well. Yeah. So wipe the slate clean and look ahead. We're talking about now the next playoff game, the Final Four championship weekend happening here in Toronto. Yeah. Don't know who you're going to play yet, but tell me about what your thoughts are in terms of hosting championship weekend, moving on to the next round.
Well, I think we're all very excited. I mean, we all know it's fairly rare to have the opportunity to have a championship in your hometown and be involved in it. So none of us are taking that for granted, first of all. We're just happy to be there. We have a hometown advantage. Our crowd is amazing, and we always use them. We can hear them from the sideline. It's all very good. You know, and the advantage of being at home, sleeping in your own bed, etc. All that's fantastic. In terms of the game plan, nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same game plan as this game for the next game, whoever it's going to be. We know at this point every team's going to have strong huckers and big, deep threats, and we're just going to stick to that game plan. Be very aggressive on the handlers. Don't let guys go up the line and prevent the deep hucks, and we think we can beat anybody.
Great. Well, Jonathan, you had a fantastic game today. Congratulations on the victory, and certainly good luck going into the next round of the playoffs. It's going to be exciting, and we look forward to seeing more of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So there it is, the final 37-12 for the Toronto Rush over the DC Breeze. Maybe not the score line we were expecting here in quarterfinal action of the American Ultimate Disc League, but boy, the Rush, really, that was a statement game, wasn't it, Robin?
Yeah, it was a strong game for the Rush, and demonstrating, I think, that they're well prepared for playoff weekend. You know, everything seemed to be firing on all cylinders for them, but they showed focus, they showed energy, and obviously they showed the weapons they have.
Of course, championship weekend, the Final Four. Toronto will play the winner of Chicago and New York. And Russell, there's going to be some tough competition, though, on July 26th and 27th. What are the challenges that maybe lie ahead for Toronto? They've got a week to prepare.
Well, when we think about the challenges going forward, Signa, you know, what I think is going to be interesting is they don't know who they're going to play yet. They're up against perhaps some competition that they've seen in New York, because they're also in the same Eastern Conference, or potentially up against Midwest team in Chicago. So as championship weekend really develops, they are going to have to, as Robin said, call upon all of their tools and their whole arsenal to go up against teams, some of which they haven't seen before. It's going to be a challenge.
And it's going to be fantastic Ultimate here at Varsity Stadium. We want to thank you so much for joining us here on our coverage of Toronto Rush Ultimate on Bell Local, and we'll see you next time.